Imagine the two most dangerous gangs in a maximum security prison. One is a group of Sunni Muslims. The other is a white power gang called the Aryan Brotherhood. On a normal day, these groups want to eliminate each other. But in the spring of 1993, something terrifying happened. The leaders of these two hated enemies sat down in secret. They shook hands, and they planned a war. It's almost like something from a Netflix series. Almost unthinkable actually to happen in real life. But it did happen. Today, we are going inside the 11-day takeover of the Lucasville prison. We are going to uncover the secret meetings that started it all, the unlikely mastermind who pulled the strings, and the tragic mistake by the police that cost an innocent guard his life. But to understand how this prison fell, you have to look at the exact moment two bitter enemies decided to team up. In early 1993, the Lucasville prison in Ohio was a powder keg. It was built for 800 men, but over 1,600 were packed inside. The spark that lit the fuse was a medical test. Tuberculosis was spreading. The state told every inmate they had to take a test. But the Sunni Muslim inmates said no. The test used a tiny bit of alcohol, which is strictly against their religion. The prison said, "Take the test or you will be punished." The leader of the Muslim inmates was a man named Sadiq Abdullah Hassan. Hassan was smart, focused, and deeply respected by his men. He was already serving time in the highest security unit. Hassan knew the prison was going to force the test on his men. He decided they had to fight back. But Hassan had a problem. He knew his group could not take over the prison on their own. They did not have enough men. To win, he needed help. And he needed it from the last people on earth you would expect. He needed the Aryan Brotherhood. The Aryan Brotherhood was a fierce white gang. Their top boss in Lucasville was a man named Jason Robb. Like Hassan, Robb was doing hard time. He was tough, organized, and commanded absolute loyalty from his gang. Normally, Hassan and Robb would never even speak to each other. But Hassan saw a chance. The Aryan gang was also angry. They were sick of the terrible food, the awful living conditions, and the strict new warden. So, in the shadows of the prison yard, Hassan and Robb had a meeting. They realized that if they fought each other, the guards would always win. But if they teamed up, they could take the whole building. An impossible alliance was born. Hassan and Robb became the masterminds. They started putting together a team to plan a massive strike. To make the plan work, they brought in 3 other key players. First was George Scottses. He was an older member of the Aryan Brotherhood. Scottses was loud and not afraid to speak his mind. Robb and Hassan knew Scottses would be the perfect person to act as their public voice when the time came. Next was James Ware. He was Hassan's right-hand man. If Hassan was the brain of the Muslim group, Ware was the muscle. He sat in on the secret meetings to make sure the plan was solid. The last piece of the puzzle was Keith Lamar. Lamar was a wild card. He was a loner. He was not a Muslim, and he was not in the Aryan gang, but he was ruthless. While the leaders planned the big picture, Lamar was the kind of guy who could control the chaos on the ground. For days, this unlikely group whispered in the yard and passed secret messages. They picked a date, April 11th, 1993, Easter Sunday.
Another warning came from officers working in the watchtowers about an unusual alliance.
The Muslims and the Aryans had grouped up together on the weight pile, on the yard. Never happens.
They knew exactly when the guards would be distracted. They knew exactly which doors to hit. The masterminds had set the trap. All they had to do was spring it. Easter Sunday arrived. The inmates were coming back inside from the recreation yard. Suddenly, the signal was given. The plan exploded into action. Over 450 inmates rushed the guards. It was fast and brutal. Because Hassan and Rob had planned so well, the guards never stood a chance. The inmates stole their keys. They grabbed their radios. In just minutes, the inmates owned the entire L block. They grabbed 8 guards and locked them up as hostages. The guards outside slammed the heavy steel doors shut, trapping the rioters inside. The standoff had begun. It would last for 11 days. Inside, the masterminds went to work. Hassan and Rob kept their gangs from fighting each other. George Scott's grabbed a megaphone. He stood by a broken window and yelled their demands to the police outside.
Because we are not going to bow down. We are not going to give up. We are going to remain no matter what they put on us. If we die, we die.
They wanted the medical test stopped. They wanted better conditions. But while Hassan, Rob, and Scott's were talking to the police, the prison was turning into a nightmare. Without guards, old grudges came out. Keith Lamar and his crew started hunting. They looked for inmates who were known as snitches. Over the next week, rioters beat 9 of their fellow prisoners to death. But the darkest moment was yet to come. The state was about to make a massive mistake, and a completely innocent man was going to pay for it. His name was Robert Vallandigham. He was 40 years old. He was a corrections officer, a husband, and a father. He was one of the 8 guards taken hostage on day 1. By day 4, the state decided to play tough. They shut off the electricity. They turned off the water. The prison went pitch black. The inmates were freezing, and the toilets began to overflow. The smell was horrific.
Electricity and water to the cell block is cut off.
Hassan, Rob, and the other leaders got on a radio. They sent a clear warning to the state. They said, if you do not turn the water and power back on, we will kill a guard. Outside the walls, the police and the state made a fatal choice. A person speaking for the prison went on live television. She told the world that the inmates were just bluffing. She said they would not actually hurt a guard. Inside the dark prison, the inmates heard her on their battery-powered radios. The leaders felt disrespected. They felt they had to prove they were serious. They chose Officer Vallandigham. They marched him into a shower room. They used a piece of weightlifting equipment to strangle him. Then they threw his body out into the prison yard.
Corrections Officer Bobby Vallandigham was strangled by inmates and his body was thrown into the recreation yard.
The bluff was real, and a good man was dead. The public was sick to their stomachs. The mood changed instantly. The police got their guns ready to storm the prison. The absolute heartbreak fell on Robert's family. His wife, Peggy, had been waiting by the phone for days. When the news broke, she became the face of the tragedy. Later, when the riot finally ended and the other guards were let go, Peggy said she felt cheated. She just wanted her husband to walk out of those doors too. The murder of Officer Vallandigham changed everything. It forced the state to finally negotiate for real. After 11 grueling days, Hassan, Rob, and a lawyer worked out a 21-point surrender plan. The state promised to review the complaints. In return, the inmates walked out, dropped their weapons, and let the remaining hostages go. The 11 days of terror were over, but the fallout was just beginning. The state of Ohio realized their entire system was broken. The riot proved that regular maximum security prisons could not hold a united front of angry inmates. Because of the secret alliance between Hassan and Rob, Ohio decided they could never let dangerous leaders mix again. They spent millions building a brand new Supermax prison in Youngstown. A Supermax keeps inmates totally alone. They are locked in tiny cells for 23 hours a day. No secret meetings, no teaming up. And who went to that new Supermax? The masterminds. After the riot, the state gave deals to other inmates. They offered shorter sentences if inmates told them who planned the takeover and who killed the guard. Based on those stories, Sadiq Hassan, Jason Robb, George Scottsis, James Ware, and Keith Lamar were all put on trial. The men who shook hands in the yard were now known as the Lucasville Five. They were all convicted of murder and leading the riot. All five were sentenced to death. Today, they are still sitting on death row. For 30 years, they have fought their sentences. They claim they only took over the prison to stop unfair rules, and that the state forced scared inmates to lie about the murders. We may never know every single truth about what happened in the dark halls of L Block, but we do know this. A simple medical test forced two bitter enemies to join forces. Their secret plan burned a prison to the ground, took 10 lives, and changed the American justice system forever. Thanks for tuning in to Northeast Ohio Crime. If this deep dive made you think, hit that like button and subscribe.